Now at 5, some Southwest Missouri residents raised concerns about the use of certain fertilizers in their community. Plus, how the Iola, Kansas School District's investing in extracurricular activities for students. And
the Republican-led legislature in Tennessee moves to oust 3 Democrats from the state's House of Representatives following their conduct in the wake of a deadly school shooting in Nashville. I'm Skylar Henry breaking down the vote.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Some residents in Newton and McDonald counties are preparing to go to the state capitol to talk with state representatives about an issue they face with a fertilizer. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. KOAM's Yana Hautala met with residents in the area to hear their concerns, and she joins us now in the studio.
Thank you, Dow. Residents I talked with are concerned about the substance that's being applied to fields around the Southwest Missouri area. Members of Newton and McDonald County Cattlemen's Association and McDonald County Soil and Water Conservation want to reach out to the state representatives about the fertilizer that they say has had runoff and polluted a stream. Members say the fertilizer is brought to the area by Denali, a company based in Arkansas. Denali says their fertilizer is produced from the residuals of food processing. Residents consider the substance as a threat for safety and residents and natural resources, on top of causing an odor around the area.
This is not just a problem for Southwest Missouri. This is a problem for the state of Missouri because it's going into our streams. It's affecting our food quality. We are an agricultural-based community here, mainly beef production, and it's going right into your food supply, this product that's being applied.
The company says Denali employees worked to clean up the runoff as soon as they became aware of it, and says the company is working with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources to deal with the issue. Some community members plan to meet with lawmakers in Jefferson City at the end of this month, and also have more town hall meetings.
Thanks. Parsons, Kansas business is being recognized by the EPA for its water conservation practices. The agency has given a pollution prevention award to Grandview Cabinetry. The manufacturer implemented a system that repurposes the solvent used while finishing cabinets to clean factory equipment. Officials say every year it saves 1,000 gallons of solvent, 1,400 gallons of water, 3.3 tons of organic compounds, and more than $15,000. Iola schools are investing in the future by buying a building near their elementary school. The building will be used for extracurricular activities, though the district hasn't decided when renovations will start. However, they're trying to get several bids from local vendors on what costs might be. District leaders hope the space will be helping the wrestling team and other extracurricular groups.
One thing that's surfaced is the need for an activity center for not only athletic opportunities, but also activities and school use.
The monies to buy the building came from district funds controlled by the school board. Pretty nice day out there. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty.
Yeah, it's been a great Thursday for us today. Temperature is fantastic across the region. Most of us have warmed up into the upper 50s, but it is going to be another cold night for us tonight. We have frost, freeze advisories in effect as we drop back into the mid-30s later on tonight. We do have some mid and upper level clouds which are streaming through the region. Besides that, overall looking pretty good. And the clouds are due to rain down to our south, Texas, southern parts of Arkansas, and that's where it's going to stay. 57 in Lamar, 56 Cassville, 60 in Grove, Parsons sitting at 60 degrees. Through the evening hours, we slide back through the 50s, 40s, but again, mid-30s later on tonight. So a chilly night. Friday looks great, warmed up for the weekend. We're going to look at your Easter forecast all coming up here in just a bit.
All right, we'll see you then. Republican lawmakers in Tennessee are voting whether to expel 3 Democratic lawmakers from the Tennessee House of Representatives. They had accused the Democrats of disorderly conduct after they led chats from the House floor with gun control protesters days after a deadly school shooting in Tennessee. So far, they voted to expel 1. Votes on the other 2 are still pending. Skylar Henry filed this report shortly before the first vote.
With their arms raised, Democratic Representatives Justin Pearson, Gloria Johnson, and Justin Jones walked through a sea of supporters at the Tennessee State House. The Republican supermajority is preparing to vote to expel the 3 Democrats for leading a gun control protest on the House floor, just days after the deadly Nashville school shooting.
You, Representative Johnson, Representative Pearson, then began from the well shouting without recognition. Is that correct?
We began shouting after repeatedly being denied recognition.
The session began with Republicans introducing bills to address gun violence in schools, including adding armed officers to all schools.
We will pay for them with state dollars so that no community throughout this state has any excuse not to have armed security that is well trained.
The debate allowed the 3 Democrats to speak about the absence of gun control legislation.
Nowhere in this bill do I hear the word, or do I see the word, guns.
Representative Johnson is a former teacher who experienced a school shooting in 2008.
I just want to make sure that we're actually doing something different that's a solution, because I don't feel that with this piece of legislation.
The chamber gallery was filled with protesters holding signs. Outside, hundreds of students, teachers, and parents protested the expulsions.
All of Tennessee deserves representation, even the people you don't agree with.
Tennessee House rules allow for the appointment of interim representatives until the seats are filled in a special election. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Now again, the Tennessee House this afternoon has voted to expel one of those lawmakers. Votes are still pending on the other 2. Expulsions are very rare, both in Tennessee and in state legislative bodies all around the country. Only 2 other House members have ever been booted from the Tennessee chamber since the Civil War. Former Vice President Mike Pence will not appeal a federal court ruling ordering him to testify before a grand jury in a special counsel probe into efforts by Donald Trump and his allies to subvert the 2020 election. Pence is expected to recount for the first time under oath his direct conversations with Trump leading up to the January 6th insurrection. Pence's decision to testify comes after a judge ruled several of Trump's former top aides must testify, including former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. An international sting led by the FBI has taken down one of the world's biggest criminal marketplaces used by online fraudsters to buy passwords. Police arrested nearly 120 suspected users of Genesis Market in an operation dubbed Operation Cookie Monster for the identifying data known as cookies collected on computers. The site sold bots containing the personal information of millions of victims all around the world, including bank account details. Still ahead, the benefits of a good night's sleep.
A possible link between sleep problems and risk of stroke. I'm Michael George with the findings of new research.
And what new research shows about a possible connection between sleep apnea and cognitive decline. Those stories next in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch, if you're having trouble sleeping, a new study shows you might have an increased risk of stroke. Reporter Michael George has more.
We know good quality sleep is critical for overall health. Now, new research in the journal Neurology finds people who have sleep problems may be more likely to have a stroke. The study looked at the sleep habits of nearly 4,500 people. Their average age was 62. Researchers quizzed them about sleep behaviors, including getting too much sleep or not enough sleep, long naps, poor quality sleep, snoring, snorting, and sleep apnea. People who slept for too long or not long enough were more likely to have a stroke. Researchers reported those who had 5 or more of the sleep symptoms could have 5 times the risk of stroke compared to those with no sleep issues. The study also revealed people who got less than 5 hours of sleep a night were 3 times more likely to have a stroke than those who got 7 hours of sleep on average. About 50 to 70 million Americans have sleep disorders. 1 in 3 adults don't get the recommended 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep, according to the American Sleep Apnea Association. The research does not show sleeping problems cause strokes, only an associated risk. But researchers say improving sleep may improve your chances of avoiding a stroke. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
People with sleep apnea were nearly 3 times more likely to have a stroke than those without the condition, and those who snored were 91% more likely to have a stroke than those who did not. A group of international researchers has shown for the first time that in middle-aged men, sleep apnea can cause early cognitive decline. The cognitive deficits were seen even if patients were otherwise healthy and not obese. It's believed that a majority of people with sleep apnea don't even know they have it. Exposure to air pollution might increase a person's risk of developing dementia. That's according to a new analysis of dozens of studies from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Researchers say those results can be used by organizations like the EPA, which is currently considering stronger limits on exposure to fine particulate air pollutants. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, how Microsoft is working to combat cyber criminals from accessing its networks.
Plus, it looks like another cold night for us tonight. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, it definitely turned out to be a nice Thursday for us today. Temperatures fantastic, upper 50s. Yeah, a little bit on the chilly side, but we're going to warm things up as we go through the next few days. Nice shot, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, we got some mid and upper level clouds, but overall, it is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and zoom in. 57 in Lamar. We're at 59 in Anderson, 60 in Miami, 60 in Parsons, 61 Chanute. Neodesha is sitting at 61. And we're going to have a warming trend as we go through the next few days. It's cool right now. We have these light northeasterly winds at about 5 to 15. That's what we're going to have tonight into tomorrow, and then eventually they start to switch out of the south, and that's going to help us warm up. All right, new drought tracker out for us today. Of course, we got a little bit of rain yesterday morning. Missouri, Oklahoma looked pretty good, but still very dry. Still, we're dealing with the drought once you get into our western counties, but 3/4 of us overall are looking pretty good. Through the evening hours, we slide back through the 50s, 40s. Another cold night tonight. We dip back into the mid-30s for overnight lows, so we do have frost and freeze advisories once again across the region. You can see those mid and upper level clouds kind of streaming through. This is due to storm system down across parts of Texas, Louisiana, southern parts of Arkansas. You can see the showers, thunderstorms. All this is going to stay to our south. Here's our next little system, which will start to affect us by the time we get into the second half of the weekend. So let's go ahead and step through time for you. Tonight, kind of chilly. 35 Lamar, 36 Stockton, Bella Vista 39, 39 at Grand Lake, down to 35 in Iola. As we go through Friday, we should be into the upper 50s by noon, and then we should get into the mid-60s. So it's going to be pretty nice once we get into Friday afternoon. Look at the winds continuing to slowly push out of the southeast. Still chilly tomorrow night, heading into Saturday, mid-30s. And then we start to warm things back up once we head into Saturday afternoon. Most of us are going to be mid to upper 60s, even pushing 70 by the time Saturday afternoon rolls around. So we get a pretty good stretch of weather over the next couple days. By Easter morning, we drop back into lower 40s for overnight lows. All right, here's your day planner for you tomorrow. 9 a.m. 46, 60 by 1, 64 by 5 p.m. So a pretty good Friday. Let's go into Sunday. Again, we start into the 40s. You can see some showers out to our west. Most of the day looks pretty good. By the noon hour, pushing 60 on Sunday, and then we should get right around 70 on Easter afternoon. But you can see we could get a few showers in here Sunday evening, but in general, it is looking pretty good. 63 tomorrow, 66 Saturday, 70 on Sunday, 70 on Monday, and then look at this. We warm through the 70s next week. Temperatures fantastic in the 70s all week, and then chances for thunderstorms late next week into next weekend. But until then, just a few random showers Sunday and Monday. Overall, looks pretty good.
Great opportunities and plenty of them to get outside and enjoy this spring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Doug. Planet warming gases continued to rise in the atmosphere in 2022. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reports methane saw its fourth largest annual increase since NOAA's systemic measurement started in 1983. It also says methane was about 2.5 times the pre-industrial levels of the late 1800s. Methane comes from landfills and agricultural practices and is the main component of natural gas used to heat homes and cook. Coming up, we're going to check out the latest electric vehicle innovations on display at the New York Auto Show. Topping today's Consumer Watch, Microsoft and multiple hospital groups are now using a federal court order to help cut off cyber criminals' access to a hacking tool around the world. This is one of the biggest moves yet by tech firms and hospitals to combat ransomware attacks that have crippled U.S. healthcare providers for years. The federal court order allows Microsoft to cut off the communication between mainly Russian-speaking hackers and the bootleg version of the software used to get into a victim's network. FedEx says it's consolidating its separate delivery companies, including FedEx Express and FedEx Ground, into one organization. The move is part of a company-wide effort to cut costs and better compete with UPS and Amazon. The new structure is expected to be fully implemented by next year, with a long-term goal to permanently save $4 billion by fiscal year 2025. The New York International Auto Show opens to the public tomorrow in New York City, and this year electric cars are taking center stage, but buying one could be getting a little bit complicated. Reporter Bradley Blackburn tells us why.
The Hyundai Ioniq 6.
The World Car of the Year runs on e-power. Hyundai's Ioniq 6 took home the top prize at the New York International Auto Show.
Like most electric cars, I know this thing can accelerate.
That it can.
The company took us for a spin. It starts at about $45,000 and can travel up to 360 miles on a charge.
How quick can it go, 0 to 60?
Officially 5.1.
The Ioniq joins a wide selection of electric vehicles at this year's show, as many consumers are making the shift. Last year, Americans bought more than 800,000 new EVs, a 65% increase over 2021. And Cox Automotive is forecasting 1 million sales this year. Many electric buyers have received federal tax credits of up to $7,500, but the list of cars that qualify is expected to shrink very soon.
You think this is going to be a big seller?
Oh, yes.
Kristen Lee with Motor Trend says in mid-April, the government will reveal new rules. EVs made overseas or even domestic brands with certain imported components won't qualify for full credits.
I guess if you have your eye on an EV and you know it's eligible for the full federal credit, you have a few days left to go down to the dealership.
Tesla says the credit will be reduced for some versions of the popular Model 3.
Some cars will remain eligible, some cars won't be eligible, some will be eligible for partial credit.
The tax changes aren't expected to slow production. Nearly all the major automakers are driving ahead to an electric future. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The full list of electric vehicles that qualify for full federal tax credits is expected to be released on April 18th. A final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, we're going to meet some female physicians who are making history and breaking down barriers. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on residents' concerns about some fertilizer use in southwest Missouri. Plus, remodeling work begins at Missouri Southern's student television studio. And it's the opening day of the Adam LaRoche baseball tournament in Fort Scott. We're going to have the highlights. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. A tribute to one of the most famous artists in the world. Italian land artist Dario Gaberin paid tribute to Pablo Picasso by carving out a giant portrait to mark the 50th anniversary of the death of the Spanish painter. Gaberin created the portrait on a 25,000 square meter wasteland in Italy with a tractor. The artist said he was inspired by the self-portrait of Picasso that was made in 1907. Seeing these art forms carved into the land is always impressive. I guess they use some computer modeling to get the shape just right, because obviously you can't see it except from above. Ground level, it would be very difficult.
It's like making a crop circle.
Exactly. Of course, those are made by aliens.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, for us tonight, frost and freeze warnings again as we drop back into the mid-30s. 63 tomorrow, 66 Saturday, looking pretty good.
See you at 6. Let's make it a great evening.